If we treated our marriages like a business, we will find that there are a lot less corporate failures of families. Corporate failure being a divorce, a separation. That is a corporate failure. And why do I say that? Hey, look, I'm Shar. I'm the founder of the most special place in the legal system in Atlanta, and that is Law for Love. And in my 13 years of family law practice, I have navigated thousands of families through a divorce process. In 2020, I began to take a different approach to family law, different than what I had been trained, different than what they treat us in law school, and began to observe some amazing patterns in the lives of men and women who were hurting because they were going through a corporate restructuring after their marriage failed. So, why would you say corporate restructuring? Why would you say business failure? The issue that I have, y'all, is that I'm pissed. I'm pissed because I, and so many people in my generation, so many of us since the time of TVs and movies and chick flicks and Lifetime, we were taught that marriage is a romance. And we pursued marriage, many of us looking for that romantic fulfillment, looking for a sense of quote unquote happiness out of a relationship with another person. We were supposed to get the house, we were supposed to get the car, we were supposed to get our dream jobs, we were supposed to have amazing and beautiful kids. And sitting in the seat of a divorce attorney, I am here to tell you that none of those things have been the reasons why people have been able to navigate and stay in their marriage. Something else was terribly wrong and they couldn't figure it out. And that's because we were all taught, we were all lied to, we were all led to believe that marriage is about romance and happiness, and it's not. So maybe that sounds cold. Maybe you might be like, okay, I don't know what kind of marriage this lady got, but she's talking crazy. Let me tell you something. When I entered into the business world as an entrepreneur, that is when my marriage changed. And the reason why my marriage changed when I became a business owner was because the business gave me a mission, it gave me a vision bigger than my feelings. See, before I became a business owner, I was constantly frustrated, constantly played, constantly really wanted to I'm questioning why did I make the mistake of marrying this man? I married the wrong person. I was literally the runaway bride for the first 8 years of my marriage because I never could find the emotional happiness that I was expecting that marriage was supposed to give me. I was expecting that he was going to meet certain needs that I later discovered would only be satisfied by serving a bigger mission, by getting involved in the business of serving my community. And it is when I started my business that I began to heal and I began to develop the mindset that was necessary for me to put my marriage in proper perspective. Now, this didn't magically change our marriage. This did not make my husband the man of my dreams, but I will tell you what it did do. With my changed perspective, I began to influence the atmosphere and the feeling of my house. My misery that used to lay heavily on top of our house, all of a sudden had changed. Peace began to reside inside of me. And because of my mastery of peace, again, pursuing a bigger mission than myself, telling myself the truth and being honest with others. When I started telling people the truth, like, hey, I'm really unhappy in my marriage. I can't stand my husband. In fact, I tell people all the time, I was at a point where I hated my husband. I hated his guts. And it was very, very embarrassing to admit that at first because I'm a woman of faith. I'm a Bible believing, praying, person of faith. And to confront myself and to be honest with the fact that I had reached a place of bitterness and sorrow that turned into hatred was it was a very, very painful reality. And when I began the business and I began to dream and I began to serve, my healing came through that. My husband, who was still fundamentally the same person, I saw him with different eyes because I was no longer suffering. because I was healing through the process of serving a bigger mission, a bigger vision, a bigger dream. And that's what business ownership does. And so, about 60 weeks ago, to this day, 60 weeks ago, I brought a business concept to my husband concerning a team meeting for our family and a certain agenda for us to begin to discuss the intangibles of our family. What do I mean when I say intangibles? We started talking about what does everyone in the family need to feel valued? What does everyone in the family need to feel respected? And what does everyone in the family need to be loved? Now, I'm telling you, this framework is absolutely powerful because 60 weeks ago, we began this process and we remained faithful to meeting and having these conversations. And now some weeks are rough because, you come to the table and you're like, look, this week I didn't feel like y'all were valued because this is what happened. And then other weeks are amazing because we're holding each other accountable and say, well, this week I did feel respected when this happened. And even me as a parent, I had to acknowledge that my child had certain needs that some weeks I was falling off, holding me accountable, like, okay, I got to do a better job in that department when it comes to the kiddo. And that family meeting has brought us to the point to really, really bring to light how much our families are a business. So many of us go to work every day. We're sitting in meetings with people we're not related to, and we're handling business whether or not we feel like it. And we're giving the best of us in the marketplace or in a business or in a corporation and coming home exhausted and having nothing good to give to our families. So, what if we switch our mind to start looking at the family as the business? I mean, like really looking at the family as the business. And I'm going to tell you that right now, doing this has brought more connection and friendship than I have ever had in my marriage. Now, keep in mind, again, I'm telling you, my husband has not changed. He has improved in the way that he responds to me because I'm coming to him more with a business approach than the emotional approach that only drove him away and sent him into isolation because he did not want to hear my mouth. Nobody really wants to hear my mouth. So, approaching marriage in that business framework, it began to draw him back to me. And it began to give us opportunities to find friendship in each other. Because here's the other thing, y'all. If you were like me and you married your lover and y'all never had a friendship, then building a business together, the business of your marriage, is a safe place to find friendship with the person that you marry. It really is. And I'm telling you this from my experience. I'm telling you that there is more laughter in my house now since I made the shift and I brought that business mind and I brought those business ideas into the family. Now, when I say business, I'm not saying that my family and I run a business together. No, we're doing family. But our family is a business. There are objectives for our family. Everybody in our family has a job. And when we don't agree on when the needs of our business are suffering because somebody's not showing up the way that they're supposed to, we need to have a conversation as a family on how we're going to make sure we eliminate this threat. Bringing that perspective and my experience from entrepreneurship into the marriage is where I found friendship with my husband. Y'all, I'm doing this video the day after we went to the gun range. I'm learning how to shoot, and I, I I can't express to you how much of a blessing it is to be like, you know what? I married this guy because he was my lover, but you know what? Romantic love, trying to maintain your marriage on romantic love is like trying to eat dessert every day for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You will be malnourished. Your body is going to have nutritional needs that are not being met. You are going to have deficiencies in your health. Romantic love is dessert. It's not the vegetables and the fruit and the organic grains. Not romantic love. And again, that is why I want to remind you who I am, what I've observed, I've literally worked in the trenches of so many hurting families who have come to the point where romantic love cannot keep them anymore. Where this big house and this, multi-million dollars is not enough to find happiness in this marriage anymore. For the hundreds of families that I've seen come to a full stop once the kids graduated high school, because that was the only thing that one of them or both of them was waiting for before they called it quits, because they weren't happy. Romantic love is a recipe for failure in your business. And so I say all of this to say that Law for Love is answering the need of our community. We are teaching and training couples how to structure the business of their marriage, to create the atmosphere where they can both heal and they can both feel safe, where they can both bring their ideas to the table. Because that's what we do in business, y'all. We bring our ideas to the table and we collaborate in the marketplace. But when we come home, we scream and we yell, or we completely shut down. We don't behave that way in the business place, in the marketplace. Why is that? And I'm telling you firsthand, I didn't realize consciously that this is what was happening in our family. But now that I know, I want to show you everything that I've learned. I want to teach you what I know about contract law, which is 99% of my work is contracts. I want to teach you the power of business law. And I want to help mediate the common issues. Again, you have, through me, the benefit of seeing what led thousands of other families into a corporate failure. And you can avoid that with my help. I'm here to teach it, to train it, to coach it, to hold you both accountable. And you might even be saying to me, hey, Shar, my husband, my wife is not going to be willing to do this. And I say you are the best fit for this approach, because that's exactly where I was when I launched my business in 2018. And I went on a journey to change my mindset and my perspective towards marriage. And that is what began to influence the change of dynamic between me and my husband. I'm really, really thankful for the opportunity of having an honest conversation with my community about my own personal challenges and successes in marriage. I find it humbling every time a family asks me to help them through a painful situation. I am humbled by the opportunity to serve in these intimate and broken spaces. And I know that all of this has come together in this time and this season to get ahead of the divorce phenomenon, to cut divorce off at the pass, because this is not how we build community. Not when our houses are falling. Mm-mm. I got into this very unique approach to divorce and legal separation as a result of my hatred for the legal system. I learned to hate that the way we were trained in law school makes a painful family situation worse. And lawyers are often doing more harm than good with our legal training and our legal knowledge. I decided that I hated that there had to be a better way. And it was my hatred for the system that drove me to create a dynamic and unique process to take care of people that are in that situation. And now it is my hatred for the pain and suffering of families and the lack of answers and practical solutions. Why I am now teaching and training people before they get married and people before they are calling a divorce attorney to consider escaping a painful situation. I am now hating that. I'm hating that this is where people are because they don't have answers. And I know that it is that same hatred for people's pain and suffering, the way that my hatred for the legal system drove me to serve my community, something that was more compassionate, more effective, more focused on the entire family. The same way that that success came from my hatred for the system is why this approach to your marriage, the support, the training, the coaching, the accountability, why it is a phenomenal answer to what's been going wrong. Because at the end of the day, I'll be the first one to tell you, I tell people all the time when they're like, oh my gosh, I feel so stupid. I feel like an idiot. I made such a big mistake. What was I thinking? What was I doing? My answer to that is invariably, we all got. I can't tell you how many times I've seen people in that situation and have been able to comfort them by saying, we all got. Look, romantic love, that was our program. That was the program of the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And now the fruition of it, the evidence of its effectiveness is resulting now in this generation with so many young people who are products of divorced homes, young people who are marrying and divorcing, couples who you would have thought were the perfect couples who were together 25, 30 years and longer, all failed because of this paradigm of romantic love. I think you should be attracted to your husband or your wife. I think you should enjoy their company. I think you should enjoy the intimate moments that we all crave as human beings in married spaces. But that's the dessert, y'all. That's the dessert. And I want to help you. I want to help you and your spouse by helping you do the same exact mindset work that I walked through that built an amazing foundation for friendship between me and my husband that completely changed the atmosphere of my house, that gave me an insight of how to resolve my own internal conflict so that I would only bring peace into my house. My number one conflict killer, I'll share that with you as well. I'll also give you the meeting agenda for the weekly staff meetings so that your family can begin addressing the intangibles. And you're going to see the difference in about 4 weeks. You'll see the change in how you manage through your own conflict and the overwhelming sense that your needs are not being met. Too often we're looking at our spouse as the reason why we feel like our needs are not met. That is one of the biggest flaws and mistakes we can make. That is one of the belief systems, one of the number one belief systems that lead to corporate failure of marriage. Your spouse can't meet your needs. And the sooner you learn that and understand that, and the sooner you learn how to meet your own needs, how to do the work that's necessary for you to nourish your own soul, how to have something left over to share with your business partner and your children and your broader community. All of those things have to be taught. I had to learn it. I had to learn it through an amazingly painful and lonely season that during the time I did not see what the end result of any of it would be. But now that I do, now that I get it, now that I'm positioned to teach this thing, I just want to I want to remind you to take one day at a time, one moment at a time. We can only tackle what comes today. We can only deal with today. And right now, you might not be able to see the possibilities. You might be like, Shar, I'm so done with this situation. Can you help me with a divorce? And, our families at Law for Love will tell you, they will tell you, Law for Love is a no judgment zone. I mean, unless you hurt kids, if you hurt children, don't come over here. I will I have my limits in terms of what I will and will not tolerate. But if you're hurting in your marriage, especially if you're like that person in your community that everybody looks up to, you're the person that everyone comes to for advice, you're the one who you expect that you're supposed to always have the answers, and you really can't open up and share with anybody what's been going on at home, how you've been secretly considering divorce, how maybe you have thrown the divorce word out there in the heat of the moment and told your husband or your wife, look, I want a divorce, I want out of this. If that's you, then I am training leaders how to restructure their marriage into a business that will last and that will outperform the market conditions of social media, of all of this messaging that's telling you that you're not happy, of you sitting back and looking at the grass on the other side and just imagining that maybe it is greener. I am here to support you in your leadership by giving you a safe place, safe, intimate space. So this training is a group, and it is open to, again, people who are engaged and looking at getting married, who want to set up their corporate structure beforehand, individuals who want to do the work on their own to begin doing their part of the business restructuring, and couples who are deciding we got to try something and you're both willing to come and do the work. If you're one of those three people, this class is a place for you. This class is going to make the difference in your endurance. It's going to give you encouragement. It's going to equip you. You're going to learn the law. I'm going to be teaching you law up in here. Laws that I learned in law school that I didn't know applied to my family. I didn't know they applied to my marriage. And when I began to integrate those laws into my marriage, how they changed everything. I'm going to be teaching you all of that. I'm going to be giving you resources. And at the very, very end, you are going to have a legally binding partnership agreement for your marriage business. Y'all, I'm so excited. I'm so, so excited. The only reason why I'm not screaming to the top of my lungs is because I haven't finished my first cup yet. And Wherever you see this video posted, somewhere in the description or somewhere in a comment, there's going to be a link to join the class. This class is going to be on Tuesday nights at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. I'm in Atlanta. And we'll have rolling enrollment. If there's ever a class that you can't join, you will have access to all of the replays. And wherever you are is where we're going to track your progress. But we are going to help you build. We're going to help you heal. We're going to help you find friendship and connection. And I'll leave you with this final thought. The friendship in my marriage now is so real because of this shift that my husband takes these little funny little jabs. He likes to call me crazy. It gives him a sense of joy to be able to express that he thinks that I'm crazy. So I usually laugh when he says it. And the reason why is because I've never met a husband in family law that didn't say the same thing about his own wife. All husbands think we crazy. And when he realized about 2 years ago that there would be no backlash for him calling me crazy, he kind of leans into it every now and then. And I recognize that that is what he says, where he just cannot understand my thought process. And here's a freebie for y'all, fellas. You cannot ever understand the thought process of a woman because we are wired that all of the dots connect. Everything is related to everything, whether it had been 20 years ago, yesterday, if it's here or there, our brains are wired like spaghetti. I learned this from a marriage pastor in Deerfield Beach many, many years ago, that women are wired like a jumble of wires. So I call it spaghetti, right? And that's why you can't understand us. But I tell you this, by having a coaching program where you have a woman that's supporting you in leadership in your corporate restructuring, I understand your wife's spaghetti. And you have to also understand that a woman we have to travel through the spaghetti before we can deal with your box, your little one compartmentalized issue, the male brain, the box, where you got a box for her and a box for work and a box for the kids, and you have your little box for nothing. We will never think like that. We will never be wired like that. But when you allow us to work through our spaghetti, we can then stay on task with the one issue. That is why your wife always changes the subject and you're sitting at the end of an argument wondering, like, what are we even talking about? How did we get here? Because she got to work through the spaghetti. I'm here for it. I'm here for it. And so, that's my final little thought about why I think it's funny now. Now that would have triggered me 7, 8 years ago. We've been married. This summer, we will be celebrating our 16th anniversary. 8, 9 years ago, had my husband called me crazy. Nobody was going to sleep that night. Nobody was going to sleep that night, not even the neighbors. That is how far business ownership, entrepreneurship, mindset work has gotten me as a wife and as a mother. Why I feel like my husband is completely valid anytime that he concludes that I'm crazy because he can't understand the spaghetti. And I want to teach other wives how to get to this point and support husbands in navigating the spaghetti with your wife while you are building a lifetime partnership, a legally binding agreement that is going to create the safety and the security you've both been looking for in this relationship. Hey, look, we all suffer and we're all concerned with fear of abandonment. We all look to figure out how to protect ourselves. If this person gonna go left, if this person gonna act crazy, everybody does it. So let's be honest about it. Let's have these conversations. Let's pull the reality out into an open discussion. Let's give y'all some focal points, some conversations that y'all can have to pull you out of the weeds of hurt feelings and help reset your focus in a direction that's going to just bring meaning and purpose back into your relationship. So again, I am Shar, founder of Law for Love, the most special place in the legal system in Atlanta, making a difference for the community, helping individuals be stronger so that they can have stronger families, and now building stronger families with corporate structuring that will last and outperform all of the market conditions that threaten us as a community. I love you all, and I appreciate your time. I look forward to seeing you in class.